Welcome to episode 281 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and we are recording on Friday afternoon because, of course, in the U.S. this past week, we were celebrating Thanksgiving holiday, and so I thought we'd get our friends together and let's have a show and talk about all kinds of things that's going on in Apple and such. And it's not a lot, but we'll find out here in just a second. First off, Patrice Brend'amour is here. Thank you so much for being here, Patrice. Welcome back. How are you?
Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely.
It feels like it's been way too long, and
it's only a couple weeks.
Exactly, only a couple of weeks, but it feels too.
The birthday bash. Glad I'm so glad you're here. And Ben Roethig, I'm so glad you're here. How you doing, Ben?
Just a little bit of food coma day, but I think I'll make it through.
I'm not too far behind you on that one.
And you'll make it through until Christmas, and it's fine.
Absolutely, you'll make it. Yeah, I'll get you that. We'll get that off that log here. And then Jeff Gamet is here. How you doing, Jeff? So glad you're here.
I'm doing great, and I feel like we had just finally recovered from the crazy birthday festivities, and then we just jump into Thanksgiving, and
yes, we did. There was a great holiday. I think everybody had a good holiday. In the U.S., it was at least the weather wasn't too terribly bad, but. It was good to get together with family, friends, and now we're back to somewhat normal here. But the Friday after Thanksgiving usually is a day off for most in the U.S., so they can't complain at all here. So got a couple.
Unless you work retail.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Right.
Yes. Been there, done that. So I got a couple news stories here, and we'll hit upon some good topics this week, including the RCS edition and with Apple and. Couple other good topics here. We'll just make through it. First off, I wanted to talk a little bit about ChatGPT here because there was a couple things that I found that caught my eye here. This story here, it says, forget the S lady. Turn your iPhone's action button into a ChatGPT voice assistant instead. With the news all over the news here about OpenAI's ChatGPT voice feature that's now available to all free users, you can ditch Siri to the main voice assistant on your iPhone. Well, specifically your iPhone 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max, of course, that has the button or action button there to replace the mute button. And then depending on your personal preference, you can associate the action button to any number of tasks, of course, the camera, the flashlight, the voice memo, and even the magnifier app. But the latter is also giving you the option if you want to turn your button into a trigger for ChatGPT. And they said that with the announcement of voice access free for all ChatGPT users, it does have an associating this iOS shortcut in an action button that would lead to allow you to be able to do that. But of course, you can't get all of this stuff without paying that $20 a month for this ChatGPT Plus subscription. So with everything going on with ChatGPT, I think this is something that's nice to have as part of the iPhone 15 Pro. Patrice, have you tried this at all? I don't know if you.
I've not tried it, and I will not. This is a terrible idea. I mean, it's a fun thing to play with, like to say, oh, can I do that? Yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah, it's
a terrible idea because I mean, yes, Siri has his problems, their problems, depending on you. How you set them up. But at least they're helpful to some extent. They can do things, they can enable things, disable things, look up information, answer some things with some authority because it's actual knowledge. This ChatGPT voice assistant does none of that. It's like it's like a 2-year-old. Like it's telling you or a 3-year-old is like very eloquent. Some of them are, or 3-4-year-olds, yeah. Some of them are, but they have no clue what they're talking about. I mean, ask my mom. Like I was like 4, and I did like a 2-hour monologue about the hole in the ozone layer and whatever. And I sounded. I mean, she said I had no clue. Like I sounded like ChatGPT probably. So, yeah, don't do that. I mean, it's fun, but don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I did it the shortcuts that allows you to get access to multiple buttons. I've got that set up on my 15 Pro Max, including the silence button and a bunch of other things that are in there. But I tend to agree with you on that. I mean, if I want to use your ChatGPT, I'll just go to the app that's installed on the iPhone and just go that way. I know
it's not a voice assistant.
Yeah, that is true. I know neither you guys, Ben or Jeff, have a 15, but Ben, you think you'd be something like this you would utilize?
Well, I think I'd use Patrice GPT.
Okay.
But, nice one.
I mean, honestly, this is for the same reasons Patrice noted. Probably not something I would do, but it is something that shows off the power of the action button. Where if you have an iPhone 15 Pro, it does what you want it to do.
Yeah, that is true. That's true. How about you, Jeff? But something you would use? Have you used ChatGPT at all on your iPhone with the app?
No, I don't. I experiment with ChatGPT. I have some clients that use ChatGPT in different ways, so I'll use it in context of their projects. But other than that, no. And I mean the whole idea of saying forget Siri, put ChatGPT on. Patrice nailed it. Why? It's the purpose of ChatGPT and the purpose of the S Lady are different.
Right.
So if you're getting rid of the S Lady, then what that tells me is that you actually aren't using Apple's voice control system at all, because there would be no use in it for you. But the other part of it is, and I don't say this in a derogatory way, Patrice, but why would I want Patrice GPT in the sense of the way you described it, where it's basically a 4-year-old who can go on for 2 hours and without having any idea what they're actually talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. No, definitely agree with that. Next story. This is another.
Make this professional now, right?
Sorry, go for it.
Right.
No, I'm just saying, talking 2 hours and knowing what we talk about we do that now all day. So.
Oh my God, ChatGPT is a podcaster.
It can be.
So true.
If it can be. Speaking of another ChatGPT thing, Google announced that the Bard AI chatbot can now answer questions about YouTube videos. Google announced this. Its Bard AI chatbot can now answer those questions. Although Bard had already had the ability to analyze YouTube videos with the launch of the YouTube extension back in September of this year. The chatbot can now give specific answers about queries related to the content of a video. And Google in the Bard's upstage pages, it says we're taking the first steps in Bard's ability to understand YouTube videos. And they wrote this, for example, if you look for videos on how to make olive oil cake, you can also ask how many eggs in the recipe in the first video requires. And they've heard some deeper engagement with the YouTube videos. I find this to be interesting only because there's millions and probably billions of videos on YouTube, and for this to be able to be that smart to find that information, I think is pretty incredible. What do you think, Jeff?
It's really interesting, and I like the idea of having better discoverability for content, and that's the promise that I see in this. It's the promise that I'm seeing in a lot of consumer-facing AI. It's when you look beyond the flashy, gimmicky part and the let's just steal other content to create a new piece of content for you part. You get into this, and this is where I'm seeing real value. So if it works well, great.
Yeah, I was just thinking, we used to have websites that you go to if you needed instructions, and they would tell you step by step, maybe with pictures or something, how to do it. And that kind of went away, or to a large extent. And nowadays, if you search for something, you get like a 15-minute YouTube video. Here's how to do X, and it's like, and you have to watch it, and it's very long. With this, now you can get the summary of the video, and you're back to what we originally had. You have a description that tells you what to do. So
that's awesome. Well, it's
absolutely
awesome unless you are a content creator who's trying to monetize, in which case Google is now doing exactly what they love to do and have tried multiple times, which is to sidestep you and your content, but leverage that for their own benefit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't have to pay you.
Yeah. Wow, screw you, Google.
Well, I mean, that's pretty much what they've been doing ever since. Yeah. I mean, nobody's making any money on YouTube. It's pretty much at this point using your YouTube viewership to incite outside advertisers.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, they're still making money. It's just not significant.
You can maybe buy a pop with 10 million views.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a clear indicator of what part of the country Ben is from in the United States. Mm-hmm. Because he talked about buying a pop versus buying a soda.
Yep. Or a Coke.
Or a Coke, that's right.
Well, if I bought a Coke, I'd be talking like this.
I want a Coke.
That was actually pretty good.
That was good.
Sprite. That's the kind of Coke I want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Y'all.
Last story here this week is I wanted to talk about Hannah Weddingham and Ted Lasso in her amazing Christmas special. I just saw it the other day. If you haven't seen it yet, it's a must see. It was so fun to watch, and she had a Ted Lasso reunion. There was people on there. This was like more or less like a love letter. Dedication to her mom, since she grew up in the opera and sang with her mom, and she did some great. I can get kind of goosebumps just thinking about watching it. You got to see it. It was really, really good. All of her Ted Lasso stars returned for the holiday episode, and including Brendan Hunt and Billy Harris, Cola Bukini, James Lance, and Phil Dunster was there. And then she also welcomed her 8-year-old daughter, welcoming her to the performance at the Arts Theater. It was so adorable.
Wow.
Yeah, it was so cool. She had some duets. Nickel Muhammad was there. He was kind of a fun part of the. I don't want to spoil it, so I won't tell you too much. And then Brett Goldstein was also in there. A really fun bit. You'll have to see that to see how absolutely funny he is, as always is. She had a duet with Leslie Odom Jr. She had Sam Ryder and Luke Evans. She also did duets with them. Juno Temple made an appearance, and then wrapped it up, and it's all over on the internet and social media. Jason Sudeikis wrapped it up by driving her home in the taxi. So it was really, really good show. She did some amazing costume changes. She looked amazing, and she's an absolutely amazing singer. She blows me away every time we heard her on Ted Lasso. It's like, wow, she really can belt it out. All the great Christmas songs. A really, really fun show. It's not very long, maybe less than an hour to enjoy. There's so many Christmas shows. What do you think, Patrice? Is that something I hope you're going to see?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I love musicals. I love any kind of music show. I love Hannah Waddingham. Like she's awesome.
Amazing.
I love the entire cast of Ted Lasso. So it's no surprise that they're back. I have a feeling they're actually quite good friends.
Yeah, you could tell.
And yeah, exactly. You could tell. So I'm very, very much. I haven't watched it yet. I haven't had time for it, but I might actually do that after the show.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. I'd like to hear what you thought, because it was pretty amazing. This was at the London Coliseum, which she grew up. She grew up there. Her mom was an opera singer. She sang there. Yeah. Both her mom and her dad were there, and and I mean they're amazed at her too. So
yeah, absolutely. And her, I mean, you could tell that she could sing. I mean, in Ted Lasso, there is at least one or two like example or situations where she sings and it's really good. So it was very clear. And I think was it a year ago, 2 years ago, she joined, I think it was Michael Bublé on a show, and now she has her own. So that's how that goes.
I think Ted Lasso made her a household name and a star, really. I mean, more star than ever.
Globally, yes.
Globally,
she was already quite well known in the UK. Yeah.
Right, very well known in the UK, but now I think everybody in the United States just adores her. She's just a lot of fun. She looked beautiful too. She was doing a number of costume changes in her dresses, and it was kind of fun. Something you guys would watch, Ben and Jeff. I hope you do.
It's going to be on the list. I have to say a couple things. Number one, it is very good that Apple is leaning into its stars. And like you and Patrice said, she absolutely has become a leading star. The other thing, by how much they were leaning into Ted Lasso here, I have a gut feeling that they're not quite done with AFC Richmond yet.
I don't think so either.
No. I mean, Jason Sudeikis said as much. He said, while it was always 3 seasons and that's what they planned, it doesn't feel like it's the end.
I don't think so either. There's just so much popularity with it right now.
In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if that is the actual title of the successor show. So it's bigger than any one character.
Yeah, that's a surprising thing. I mean, about Ted Lasso in general. It started out being mostly about Sudeikis and about Ted Lasso. And there were, like, the other characters were important, but it was about him. And then kind of over the 3 seasons, like, it became about everybody and about the cast and about their lives. And Hannah Waddingham was, I think, one of the, at least internationally, one of the breakout stars.
Yeah, she was. Your thoughts, Jeff?
Okay, so listening to the three of you talk, it makes me so happy, because when Ted Lasso started, I already knew who Hannah Waddingham was because I'm into music, musicals, Broadway, theater. So I already had exposure to her, and I think for a lot of people, the exposure actually might have been, wasn't she the shame lady from Game of Thrones, which I never watched.
No, that's Lena Headey.
Oh, well, there you go.
That's fine.
Yeah. But anyhow, seeing her be able to shine in this, I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. Just I haven't had the time, but it's definitely on my must-watch list. And what I'm hoping, just because it's so much fun, is that Apple is actually building up a catalog of really fun holiday content. I mean, last year we got their version of Scrooge.
Yeah, which was
actually really good.
Yeah. I watched it like 4 times at least, and I cried every time. It was so good.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And now this year we get Hannah's thing. There was now I feel really stupid because I forgot the name of the singer who had holiday specials with Apple prior to this.
Brian Terry?
Thank you. Holy crap.
Thank you. Yeah.
Only the Christmas song that everyone loves or hates. That's funny how, I mean, I could totally see her in her little Santa suit thing and could not think of her name. Yeah. So anyhow, I'm looking forward to seeing it. And
don't forget the Ted Lasso Christmas episode that came out in August.
That's true.
Right.
Well, that's right.
I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
I'll go back and watch that now too.
Yep.
It's still one of my favorite episodes.
And wasn't there a Mythic Quest Christmas episode too?
Yeah. There was. It wasn't even a special, I think. It wasn't even a regular episode. Yeah.
Yeah. So much fun. So
Wasn't the Christmas Ted Lasso episode the extra one they had to make because they had been told, well, you have an 8-episode season, but then it turns out, it's 9, so they had to shoot an extra one and make it fit in without screwing up the entire storyline.
Could be.
So the Christmas one is a standalone thing, also filmed much later in the year. Hence, they just went ahead and rolled with that and turned it into a Christmas episode.
Yep.
Yeah, and then it came out in August. So.
Yeah, we celebrated Christmas in August. All right, well, that's the short amount of news we had this week. There wasn't a lot, and most of it and a lot of it was Black Friday stuff. And I don't know, we'll see if we have some time later end of the show if we can touch upon some of the amazing deals. But that's the only thing is that it's becomes not so topical once you listen and stuff that's old. But we'll see if we could go back and revisit some of the other topics I already have planned here this week. So beta, I always talk about beta this week. We were still on iOS 17.2 beta and 3. And I'm wondering, when is it going to come out? Because the rumor has it they're probably going to say this, they're looking at that it's probably going to be around December timeframe, mid-December before it's released. Really, the only thing that stands out on it is journaling. And I don't know if anybody's how exciting you could be about journal. But
there's two features. The spatial video on the 15 and journaling. So I was just looking at my calendar. I would say probably either the 11th or the 12th of December. I had to guess.
Look at my calendar and see if I concur.
It sounds, but usually second week of the month is Apple tends to do their releases.
And far enough from Christmas that if something goes wrong, they still have time to have people around to fix it.
They shut down for the rest at the end of the year.
I agree with you completely, Patrice. Just looking at my calendar, that's like the sweet spot for that release.
Yeah.
Possibly, but the current macOS Sonoma beta build is an E. Unfortunately, I can't find out the build on my iPhone because it's currently being used as a camera. But honestly, it might be closer to Christmas because that's still pretty early in the beta cycle as far as version number goes.
It's gonna be 4. It's gonna be 4 or 5, but at that point,
Yeah.
I mean, we're at 3 now. I'm guessing next week we'll probably get a 4, so 5, probably 5.
So Ben, if it's later, we're looking at the 18th or 19th, so just a week later, which puts it in the week where you're going directly into the holiday, the Christmas holiday.
Yeah, some people might already have that week. So at least in Europe,
which then would mean
I wouldn't be surprised if 17.2 got pushed off to beginning of January.
Possible. I don't think so.
Yeah,
it's stable enough. Like as Dave said, like the features are not. I mean, there is some new stuff, but it's not so disruptive. Like there's not something massively that changed. So I think they could do it.
Yes. Have you tried the journal app, Patrice, yet?
Oh yeah, I'm using it not every day, but every couple of days. I mean, all the integration into the apps are still missing because for sure it's only going to ship when the apps then ship the feature. But I'm really I've used a couple different journaling apps over the years, and it's surprisingly good. Like, I mean, you don't even have to write anything. You can literally just post like your photos from now, from past years. Like the same thing you have in Photos, where it detects certain things that you did. Where it's like, oh, you went to a Christmas market on Sunday, and it's like, hey, you want to post that in your journal, and you can just with one button tap, you get it.
Yeah.
So quite a good feature.
I'm looking forward to the journaling app. Probably not for the same uses that a lot of other people have, or maybe the same. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it for the integrations and shortcut support.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at it as not something like Patrice, you're saying you don't have to put stuff in yourself. You can have other things do it.
Yeah.
And that's the use case that I'm seeing, where I have other apps that are just automatically putting content into the journal for me. So basically, it becomes like a work journal. So I can see what I was doing for different clients at different times, and that's the compelling use case for me.
100%.
I never thought about that. That's actually a pretty good reason for the use case.
You're welcome. We'll probably be sharing some shortcuts at some point, I'm betting.
Yeah,
for sure.
It is. Bring on Teachy too. Do all the shortcuts.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Moving on, Apple is preparing to release 17.1.2. We're currently on 17.1.1 as we record this for an update to the iPhone. It appears that Apple is internally testing this version for the iPhone based on the evidence of the software in the website analytics logs in the last few days. It's probably going to be a minor update, right? More focused on bug fixes, but still unclear where the issues may be addressed. Who knows? Maybe some improvements to the Wi-Fi that we've already been having problems with, or Wi-Fi disconnecting. But as the story says, that they typically don't release any updates during the week of Thanksgiving because, of course, everybody's off most of that week. So 17.1.1, as we know, data fix of the BMW wireless charging issue that affect the 15 and the weather app widget not showing a snow icon. Those are some important things there. And again, we just talked about 17.2 was doing the updating. So it's, interesting to see how Apple reacts to wanting to release this .2 version right before the full, the 1.2 version versus the 17.2. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes. And again, it's probably just going to be very minor and as far as an update goes. Any thoughts on that?
I think you nailed it.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
all right. Great. And next topic. I want to talk a little bit about the whole announcement about Apple's health has now froze over. The fact that Apple is going to be using RCS as part of the standards of iMessaging, RCS messaging. This was earlier this month that they will adopt this in 2024, and it's upgrading its messaging standards for non-iMessage conversation, because it was quite a shock that Google had been aggressively pushing Apple to implement the RCS for multiple years, but Apple wouldn't budge. So there's a number of features as far as between what RCS does and what SMS and MMS does. And I don't know. I don't go through all this and use an article here to reference this, but I'll ask you, Patrice, what do you think we're going to get as a benefit to have RCS besides the fact of everybody complaining about the green bubble versus the blue bubble, which isn't going to be solved because of Android. No. But it does have a lot more amazing features that iMessage doesn't have, right?
Yeah, I mean, for one, Apple kind of did a big screw you Google, because they said they're not implementing the Google variant of RCS. They're implementing the GSM standard, and that one does not do end-to-end encryption as of yet. Apple said they're going to work with the GSM to do that and to standardize that. But for now, there's a Samsung version, there's a Google version, there's different versions, and Apple didn't go to the Google one. So you're not getting end-to-end encryption. But what you're getting, I think, is a better, cheaper, more reliable text message. Because, I mean, one, you're not going through GSM anymore. This goes over the internet or Wi-Fi like standard. So it works also in places where you might not have cell service, which was a problem with text messages. If you might have had perfect Wi-Fi at home, but you still couldn't send the text message because your cell coverage sucks. So that's gone. And I think that's the big feature. And then it's, I would say, yet another way how you can communicate cross-platform. There is already a lot. There's Facebook Messenger, there's WhatsApp, there's Signal, there's Telegram, there's a lot others, but it's another one that works and might do the job for a lot of people. Like not everybody is on WhatsApp or Facebook.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeff, you hit the nail on the head there. That we're not implementing. The Apple's not going to implement Google's version. This is more or less their version, and you did too, Patrice. This is important, and there's just so much security is one of the most important things. MMS is not secure. I mean, encryption is the other thing. Both of those platforms don't provide encryption.
Exactly. What you're not getting is all the features iMessage has, like all the app integrations and sending money, sending Apple Cash, all of that. You're not getting any of them. You're also not getting the blue bubble. It's still a green bubble.
Right.
So it's basically, the iMessage app already supported it, or the Messages app, how it's called, already supported 2 formats, because you could go text message and you could do iMessage. And now it's going to be a 3rd. So not a big deal.
This isn't the big win for Google that some people are claiming. And this isn't Apple blinking, so to speak, and capitulating to Google. No. There's none of that here. This is about Apple making sure that they're in control over the protocols that they will probably be eventually forced to adopt. So they will adopt under their terms. And even if that wasn't the case, they're still smart to not adopt Google's version of RCS, because now they are at the mercy of another company deciding when they're going to make features available to other companies, to competitors. I love the idea that Apple will be involved in helping design the GSM version of encryption for RCS, because ultimately that means that if Google wants to offer a universal encryption or security for their standard, they're going to have to switch from their proprietary thing they want everyone else to use to the thing that Apple helped make. And there's some delicious irony in that.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Google's not even using their own encryption signals.
No. That's true, yes.
Yeah. Bless their hearts.
Yeah.
But
Ben?
Yeah, it does 2 things for Apple. Like Jeff was saying, number one, it gets them basically a very good seat at the table for the RCS with GSM for RCS. And 2, they get to modernize SMS, MMS. Text message had just gotten a little bit long in the tooth.
Yes, they have to die eventually. I mean, the network it's using has to evolve, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah, and I mean, wouldn't those still be sent by Edge?
Well, I think you can send them over LTE, but it's the same. It's still the old technology, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
So now SMS and MMS, they're using the empty space that was in header packets for cellular transmissions.
Right.
Yeah.
That means that cellular providers can't change the way that they're using that technology, because they have to maintain support for SMS, MMS. When we get to a point where RCS can truly take over as that just generic standard, then the cell companies will be in a position where they can start potentially doing some innovation that currently isn't possible.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to take a very, very long time, because we have so many devices still using that, so it's going to take a while.
But it has to start before it can start. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, ultimately, that's one of the reasons I believe that the carriers were the ultimate party to convince Apple to switch rather than the EU or Google.
Yes. Yeah, and it's an easy. I think it's a rather easy thing to convince Apple with, because it is better for users.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Oh, this is good. We're glad to see it. And just glad we were able to kind of open up on explaining what the differences are, because a lot of people out there are not very familiar with what these are. They just know they just send text messages and it works, and they know that iMessage has always been a blue bubble internal, and we've been able to send messages between each other very easily. But then when you mixed in those Android users in your family of mostly iPhone users, it always became a challenge, especially with sending pictures, and it's MMS. It doesn't work really well on the iMessage side, so it's kind of better actually, even before this was announced.
And a cost question in some cases, because some carriers, especially on prepaid plans and so on, either limit or still charge for text messages.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
Still exists.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I mean, just like Wi-Fi calling, getting the text messages potentially on going over people's Wi-Fi, that benefits the carriers.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, that was a good conversation. I want to move on. There was this was announced a number of weeks ago that Mint, which was not the cellular service. This is the actual financial budgeting app that's been around for a really long time, which was bought by Intuit back in 2009. So you could tell you how long this application has been around. It's been it's been a great app, but you always had questions about security because it is online all the time, and you didn't have a lot of control of your data. It wasn't secure, but I mean, there was still a lot of people that were using it. And it was, like I said, one of the most earliest ones that were out there. And they had almost 3.6 active users in 2021. That
3.6 users.
3.6 million. Did I not say million? Sorry.
No, I'm totally giving you a hard time.
3.6.
3.6 users.
I was just feeling bad about that one person that
correct. Yes, that one.
Yeah, that was like,
Only
oh,
3.6
is gone.
million active users in 2021. It was introduced in 2007, so it was quite a change back in those days to have an app like that. But and a lot of outcry from loyal users that meant that they were especially upset since it was purchased by Credit Karma, which was spun off from Intuit, because Intuit did own. Actually, I think Intuit does own them now. So I think Intuit kind of got out of this Mint business, and then now it's coming back to Credit Karma. Now Credit Karma is going to merge it into their budgeting tools, but they won't offer anywhere near the same of what it offers now. So, and there's again, Credit Karma has a lot of users. I'm one of them. As I check my credit scores, and I love it because it's telling me what my credit scores are in real time. It's nice to stay on top of that, because all those years you never knew what your credit report was saying. You had to go to freecreditreport.com and go to get your report every time. But now I get notifications every day. Oh, look, you're knocking out of the park. You're paying your bills, and so Credit Karma has been kind of a aggregate of all that stuff. But of course, they're not doing that for free. They're doing lots of advertising, getting you to entice you to sign up for credit cards and for financial services and that stuff. But they are going to have some sort of budgeting tool that's going to be on there. But I think with all things that are that long in the tooth as far as age goes, it's probably time to move on to other things. I want to know if you guys use any budgeting tools. And there are some services out there. I know one of them, notably, I've been using as of late, is called MoneyWiz, which is part of is in SetApp, and I started using that a little bit, and I kind of like it, but it does have some room for improvement. It's really hard to connect your banks, and then there are some banks that are not part of their system. Then and they utilize some of that stuff, and then Quicken, that's a whole nother story. That app has been never worked on a Mac for forever. Like they never update it, and And I believe Quicken got spun off, so it was part of Intuit at one point, but it got spun off. But I don't know if I don't know, Patrice, do you use anything as far as a budgeting app like this besides Simple Tools?
No, not currently. I used MoneyWiz for years, but I realized that it was kind of a bit, I don't want to call it OCD, but it was kind of a little bit that everything had to be in there, and you had to, back then it didn't even connect to any bank, so you had to manually put everything in, and I did that religiously every day. But these days, no, I can just look at my credit card bill and see everything that I paid for. So I don't need an app for that.
It's all that Apple gear you're buying.
Yeah, exactly.
How about you guys, Jeff? Did you use any budgeting apps at all? Like this? I know this enough.
I'm actually in the same boat as Patrice. I tried playing around with MoneyWiz for a little bit, and after only a few days, I was out. And not because I didn't like the app, but because I didn't like that my whole life suddenly revolved around entering transactions into an application. And like Patrice, I actually don't need to look at some third-party app to see where my money is going, because my bank gives me a really good report that I can go and look at in real time every single day, as often as I want, and it's all right there. And honestly, the big news in the Mint is going away, and now it's going to be Credit Karma for everyone. The big news there is that Mint hadn't gone away years ago. I never tried Mint because when I considered hopping into it, that's when Intuit was buying them, and that was reason enough for me to not start.
You're like, nope.
Yep, not going to do it. I assumed that either they were going to somehow let all of my personal business, whatever, financial data get dumped out on the internet somehow, or they were just going to shut down the service and leave me high and dry. And so I just didn't get in. The fact that it's stuck around this long since Intuit bought them, to me, that's the really surprising thing here.
True.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Next topic I want to talk about is your iPhone and iPad backup. This has always been a dilemma for many people. More so the fact that how do you back it up? I mean, we all are backing up to iCloud. I think that's probably the number one place to back it up. It's the easiest way to back your device up, and for the most part, you should feel comfortable with it. But all of us here on this panel are tech oriented, and we don't we're all geeks here. Let's face it. That we want to do something more than just that. But I'm gonna have links to two places that I think are valuable. And this article talks about the comparison between iCloud and on your computer. So the big thing is iCloud is encrypted, so you're definitely safe when it comes to that when you're backing up both your iPad and your iPhone. Computer, well, it is optional. It's turned off by default, but you can encrypt it. But then you also got to maintain it. Just like we just talked about with money was the previous topic that it's a lot of manual labor having to do all this, and plus a lot of times if you want to do iCloud, a lot of times it's not as easy to back it up to your computer using it that way through the backup that method, because iCloud kind of takes things over and when it comes to that. But I'm not going to go through all the stuff here, what the things are, but there are many things that do stand out as far as what iCloud backups don't already do, is including the storing and syncing you in iCloud, like contacts, calendars, and notes. Well, they've done a better job with that now, because you actually can go into the iCloud, go on iCloud.com, actually check your contacts. So it is backed up now. So I don't know how current this is. So it does back this up. So, but I don't know why I'm even saying this, because most of this stuff is backed up, if I'm not mistaken here. So your messages, that's a big thing. What the thing that takes up the most space, as we know, photos and iMessages. There's so much photos. I I looked at my backup on my iMessages. I'm probably nothing compared to other people. You have like 6-7 gigabytes of data. I'm sure people are up to 20, easy. 30 gigabytes sometimes easy, because you're just sending a lot of stuff back and forth. So, and it's super easy to do the backup, set it up, and it's well worth the costs of having paying for iCloud storage. Everybody every day I say, 5 gigabytes isn't going to cut it, and it's still unfortunate to this day that Apple does not offer a bigger choice. It just blows my mind. So they do have, I believe, we have the backup like the 20 gig plan, the 50 gig, and then go all the way up to 2 terabytes as far, and you use that as a family plan.
Didn't they introduce 6 terabytes now?
They're going to 6 and 12 terabytes now too, right?
Yeah, exactly. So plenty of space for your backups. Yeah,
for that part. So I don't know if any of you guys, do you use the computer backup at all through Apple? I don't think, not as many people are using that these days, but we were talking about earlier, and I've posted this out. iMazing is probably one of the best choices for granular and controlled backups. I think iMazing is amazing. And right now, as we record this, they have 50% off, and you can have up to 5 devices hooked up to it, and it's like $37, and it's a lifetime subscription. It's a lifetime cost. Your one-time cost, and you get lifetime updates. So we'll have a link in the show notes for that. Version. Yeah, you even have a family version now, right? So you can share it with your family and have them. I'll be backing the things up. But iMazing has a little bit of a learning curve, and there are some folks out there who don't really like to get into that. But hey, if you don't back things up, you're going to be in trouble. And I don't want to hear you complain. And I don't think any of us want to hear maybe complaining, I lost my contacts. What am I going to do? Well,
that happens so often.
Them up. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on this, Patrice? Is that a lot of methods you are backing your devices up?
I'm just using iCloud. It works. I've used it plenty of times. I needed it plenty of times because if you're on the beta cycle, there's always a risk that something goes wrong and then you have to restore from backup. So that has happened. Technically, it depends which method when you set up a new iPhone you use, but technically you're even restoring from backup when you set up a new device, unless you do the device-to-device transfer that they now offer. But for a long time, that was basically what you did. You would basically restore from backup, create a backup, and then restore it to your new device. So no, I've never had any issues with it. It just works.
Okay, yeah. And I've been doing most of the time. I like to have a secondary backup with iMazing as well, so I kind of do both. How about you, Jeff? What's your methods of backup on your iOS and iPad OS devices?
I am adamant that I do not want to lose critical data ever. So I have a backup routine that for many people would probably seem like overkill, but for me, it makes me very happy. So yes, I am absolutely using iCloud, and it has been a lifesaver more than once. The first time you take your iPhone into the Apple Store to get something fixed, and the process involves either having to wipe the device or them just handing you a new iPhone, just having that iCloud backup is critical because you're in the store, you've got a blank phone, you log into your account, and it just starts putting everything back, and you don't even have to think about it. It's wonderful. But I don't like relying on a single point of failure, even though this has been a very reliable point. So I do use iMazing, and so my iMazing backup then gets included as part of my nightly backup through SuperDuper. It's also included in my Backblaze backup, so that's offsite. Yep. So that I have backups of my backup for my iPhone, iPads,
good regiment,
Apple Watch.
Yeah,
definitely. How about you, Ben? What's your backup ways?
Right now, unfortunately, it's only iCloud only. But honestly, do not be me.
Be me? Oh.
Back up every single way you can.
Yeah, because so what you're saying is be me.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Apple has a very reliable service, but don't even trust that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Can I add some color to don't even trust that?
But you know, as your only.
Yeah, it's okay to trust it, but don't trust it in the sense that it's the one that's always available. I like to not trust any of my backups. They have to prove their validity to me. And so the apps that I use, the services that I use, I periodically test to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to. So it's
trust but verify.
There we go. Yes. Thank you. That much more eloquent way to put it.
Yep. So follow those regiments. We highly recommend it. I call it at the very least. We'll have links in the show notes here to all the things that we just talked about and relates to backup. It's super important to take a look at that. So anything else?
I mean, I was just thinking about something because I'm working on something at work right now where we have to do a lot of risk assessment.
Yeah.
So for technical systems, and that's exactly what this is. You look at your solution, you look at your process, and you assess the risk. And part of the risk assessment is also frequently testing it and making sure it works. And then you look at it and you say, okay, like this is what the risk is. Is the solution that I have sufficient for that? And for Jeff, very clearly, it's not, because he's saying one solution is not enough. I need two, so that the risk of a single one failing for what is important to me is lower.
Yeah. Well, I can't.
We all find that level that we're comfortable with.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't not agree with that more. It's just so important. And I work for an insurance company and we have risk assessment all the time. If we didn't have backups and if we didn't have backups in place, boy, we'd be in a lot of trouble with our business.
Oh, yes.
I mean, and that applies to any business. Doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah, but
you got to follow.
But every business every business has different risks. Like for you, you might need 10 backups, and another business needs 0 because they're like, okay, we have everything on paper, so it's fine. I don't know.
Well, I hope not. These days, anyway.
I don't know. Yeah. Like businesses can be different. Maybe that business doesn't care about their data because it's like there's nothing in there that's important enough.
Yep.
Okay, fine.
All right. Next topic here. I've seen a lot of new browsers coming out lately, and I thought this was kind of fun to talk about this a little bit. Is some of the third-party browsers that are out there. We all, of course, know Safari. We've been using Safari for years on our iOS and iPadOS devices. But I kind of wanted to I'm not going to dig too deep in each one of these. I have links in the show notes here for some of the more standout browsers. Everybody knows Safari. I know we like that. Google Chrome, everybody gets, I'm not so big about fan of Chrome, but Chrome has its place as well in the third party. We also got to remember that on an iOS device, really the back end of browsers is still Safari. I mean, it still drives a lot of the back end of it
WebKit,
in some cases. And WebKit, right?
It's not Safari, it's WebKit.
That's what I meant. WebKit, right. So, so it is. In a sense, it has WebKit as its back end, but it has the front end of the browser that you're used to when it comes to each one of the browsers. And the other one is Microsoft Edge. I work in enterprise, so we all live in Microsoft world. Edge is not actually a bad browser when it comes to that. I mean,
just very annoying.
It's annoying at times. There are times too I have to set. I mean, I have Microsoft apps that are not technically locked up to work because you have to stay in that. They allow you to share, so you can create profiles, which is nice. Profiles has become a big thing. Now Safari has profiles that they've added, so you can have multiple profiles. These have done it as well. I've always been a big Firefox user on the Mac. For some reason, I'm just kind of stuck on it. I know some people don't like Firefox, but I find it to be very, very helpful. I like syncing of settings and being able to go back and forth. I know you can do that on the Mac as well. I don't know. It just kind of stands out on me. The other one that I like that's part of Firefox is they have a separate browser. It's called the Firefox Focus, that privacy browser. It's always in privacy mode. So when you watch this browser, Firefox Focus, it's always private. So it always brings you in as you're surfing anonymously. So sometimes you may want to work that way. I mean, there's times you go to these advertisers and they see you surf, and then all of a sudden you're getting an email. Hey, I noticed you left this in your cart. So those are kind of helpful when it comes to that. And the other Chromium-based browsers like Opera, and I'm a huge fan of Opera. I don't know about you guys, but Opera has its ups and its downs, and it seems to be kind of tough to work with here. So, and then DuckDuckGo, which we all know as the privacy privacy search engine. They have a privacy browser, which is really nice too. So those were kind of the ones on there. Do you guys agree with me at all with those?
We
kind of
added a couple
some of the
more.
core list. Yeah, I'm gonna go to the indie ones here. So those are kind of the core ones we talked about here. And they were appearing before my eyes here as I was talking. So we call these kind of the indie type browsers. Developers are coming up with some new ways of this. This one's the first one. This one kind of is newer. It's I think it's called Quiche. It's Quiche. The Quiche browser, which is a customizable browser. And then they say it's for minimalists and tinkerers. Those are probably kind of fall into us when it comes to this.
Yes.
Just came across this actually today as we record this, and that's what kind of inspired me to do this topic. Is this was great about these browsers. You could put them on your device, time out. If you don't like them, then get rid of them.
I like
so
them. Well,
I don't know if you guys have had a chance to look at this browser, but I think it's something to check out.
My favorite
it's pretty new.
My favorite currently is Orion because of the KG search engine that Jeff introduced me to, which is a really, really good. It's a paid search engine, but it's a really, really good engine. And it's WebKit based, so it has all the goodies from Safari, but it's linked to KG and has some unique features for that. So that's my favorite.
No, I remember you guys talking about that in previous shows. We talked about this, and that's definitely a good one. Jeff, I saw. Did you add one you ordered? Did you add one in here?
I added, I added Ghost Browser, OmniWeb, and iCab for you.
Okay.
OmniWeb and iCab. Wow.
OmniWeb and iCab deserve honorable mention because OmniWeb actually dates back to the Next days. And even though it's not an official product per se anymore, it is still maintained by Ken Case because it's part of the Omni Group apps. So Ken is personally working on the code for that, and it's still a fantastic browser. iCab has been around since System 8 on the Mac, and it's available on multiple platforms, as I recall, and it's just a solid little browser that's been around for a long time. I don't even know what engine it's using.
I think it's a custom engine that because that pre-exists basically. I think it pre-exists all browsers on this list. I think so. It's definitely older than WebKit. So.
It's older than WebKit, so I guess it would even predate apps for Next.
Yeah. It could be.
Yeah. So at Ghost Browser, it's another Chromium-based browser, but if you're like a power user and you need that kind of functionality, Ghost Browser's worth checking out.
If you look at it today, basically WebKit won. Because even the Chrome browsers are based on WebKit originally.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. I could probably throw in more browsers for you, but sure. These are the ones that are just right off the top of my head.
Oh yeah, there was more. If I were to add to this, it would take up a number of pages on the show notes here. So.
Literally, we could do it in touch with browsers.
We could. Yes,
we could. So, just good awareness. Good awareness for folks to know that you don't have to use Safari on your iOS device. You can use a number of these browsers and probably have a better experience with it. And again, like I said, use Firefox a lot, but not like it's not enough for everybody. One other one we didn't mention, Arc. Arc is a new one that's been out. That's a really good. That's a really good browser too that just came out not too long ago. And many of these browsers are both platforms. You'll go on iOS, iPadOS, as well as on the Mac. So and PC and PC in many cases too. Definitely something to check out. And all the links here are in the show notes as far as all those browsers we talked about. Yes, it's great to have your input in this. I know this will be a good topic because I know you guys are going to be passionate about this. So, but let's go ahead and move on. I want to make sure I hit a couple tips here that I had here. The first one was, the ability in iMessages to be able to customize the app list settings. As you know, in iOS 17, it added the new feature where you tap the plus when you're responding to somebody, and you have that whole list of apps. And I've got it set up where you can scroll through them and be able to change them. Well, what you can do is you can customize this list by going into settings and going into messages, and then you go into iMessage apps. That allows you to be able to see the whole list of all the messages that are in there. Allows you to be able to turn on or off any of those apps that you don't want in the list. And some of the ones that I have includes like I do Giphy, which I like to do the animated GIFs or GIFs, whatever you want to call it, YouTube and Zoom and many others that. Zoom makes it easier because it's going to be, you could tap Zoom and it actually allows you to send a link much easier in a message than you have to go out, copy the link and then paste it. So there are some pretty cool apps that are in here, but it's to be aware of that. It is really a cool thing to do when it comes to being able to customize this. There was another tip that I found out about this earlier this week, and I spoke at an Apple user group earlier this week as we record this, and they really dig this tip here is, when you tap the plus button, it's going to bring up the menus like I just said. But now what you can do is you can just tap and hold the plus button, and what it does is it automatically brings you right into photos, because that's the first thing you want to do. And I didn't even know that there was that you could do that, because it kind of like went away. So if you tap and hold the plus button, all of a sudden the photos come up in a menu, just drops up for you. Gives you one quick way of being able to get to the photos and be able to grab those photos right away without having to do 3 steps. You're down to 1 step, and then be able to look at your photos and scroll through them, choose what you want, put it right in the message. Then a cool thing I found was and I think many of us know about this, is we were always wondered before iOS 17 came out, we knew when the Apple TV came out, the new remote for the 4K version had some sort of AirTag way of being able to find it, because that was always the issue of, you'd always lose that Apple TV remote in the side of your cushions in your couch. Well, now with iOS 17, if you go and tap your list of all your Apple TVs when you go to the Apple TV remote on the control center, it now will list find remote right at the next part of it. I'm going to put a picture of that in the show notes. You'll see it, and you tap that, and then all of a sudden it's going to start beeping, just like you do. You can ping your iPhone from your Apple Watch, and vice versa. Well, now you can do this on the Apple remote, and then of course it has the proximity finder where it goes and lets you go right close to it until it tells you how far away it is from you. So it was really cool that they added this new feature in here. So check that out. Did you? So
that's the U1 chip, right?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I'm not entirely in love with the interface, but I have used it multiple times, and it absolutely works.
Yeah, I'm tried it a number of times. It's like, of course, the remote's sitting right in front of me here, and I can't. Where is it? I set it under my desk here. Oh crap! There it is.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
So a couple cool tips I thought I'd add this week. Lastly, this app, and you brought this up, Patrice. I'd love for you to tell everybody about it. This is this app about time zones called Elsewhen. And tell us what your experience has been with this app.
It's a really cool app. So I think it originally came from like the Discord community, where people were posting times, and Discord has some special format how you can put that in, whatever. That's where it started. But and you see that some references to that still in the app. But it's a really, really good app if you want to figure out like you have, I mean, we have that 4 times a year basically for the 4 like British Tech Network shows, where the time zones change in Europe, and the US is, or Northern America, I should say, is a week behind. So everything is just a complete chaos. And I post always this post where I say, okay, hey, be careful. Next week the shows are at this time. And it's really cool because you can have predefined lists of countries or time zones that you want to post, and you can switch between them. And then you just say, okay, on this date, forever, whatever, like Friday, what is today, the 24th, at 1:30 p.m. Central Time.
Yeah.
And then you get the list of your predefined list of countries, and you just copy that, paste that in whatever text message, social media, wherever you want to post it. And it has like the little flags with it and the time zone, like the names of time zones, everything. It's just a really, really good app if you have to share such information.
Absolutely. I completely forgot about you recommended it a number of weeks ago. And I installed it, and then you mentioned it again today on the Mac show. It's like, oh my gosh, we got to talk about this and make sure listeners here and viewers can find out more about this app. And it's absolutely free too, which is great.
Exactly.
And universal.
And universal, right?
Yeah.
I think I believe it's available on the Mac as well, isn't it?
Yes.
I've never checked, to be honest. I only ever use it on my phone, but
yeah. So good stuff. Wow, we made it through a whole hour here, and I didn't think it would happen because there was not a lot of news, but I picked some good topics because we love them. And, we have a lot of great things to talk about this week, and so let's go ahead and wrap up for this week. That is a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Mastadon at intouchwithios, at techhangout.social. That's Patrice's great Mastodon instance. So I was happy you're hosting that for us. And support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate that. You can make sure you like, share, and subscribe when you're notified when we are live streaming, which is usually on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time, but because of the Thanksgiving holiday, we're here on Friday. That is on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/intouchwithios, where you can watch us live streaming as well as watch the recorded live stream, and you also can listen to past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discussed are posted into that magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Podcasts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. But better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg. You can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65 at mastodon.cloud. Patrice Brend'amour, so glad you were able to come back on the show. Thanks for being here. Where can people find you?
Well, you can find me every week on the British Tech Network, on the Mac Show on Fridays, and the Big Show on Thursdays. I did that the other way around for some reason. You can find out everything I'm doing, like all the social media links, including my Mastodon on my Mastodon instance. Like social media links, podcast, projects, literally everything I'm doing on my website, thepatrice.com. And if you want to listen to really cool people talk about food-related stories and memories and just everything that goes with that, which is very apropos, like given the holiday yesterday, head over to foodieflashback.com for my podcast.
Absolutely. You can go back and watch my episode where we talk about Chicago pizza.
Food festival.
Yes. Thank you so much. Jeff Gamet, so glad you were able to make it here today as well. Where can people find you?
Well, I'm so glad I'm here too. I know I say this a lot on various shows, but it's always true. It is just an absolute treat to get to spend time with you, with all of you.
Yes.
All right, so where you can find me. Social media, Gamet, Mastodon, Instagram, Threads, all of them, but those are the 3 that I'm active on right now. Then for shows, Chuck Joyner lets me join in on Mac Voices Live on Tuesdays. Dave, you let me join in on In Touch with iOS on Thursdays, except for today because it's Friday. And then on the British Tech Network, the Big Show on Thursdays, the Mac Show on Fridays, And then Brian Chaffin and I do the context machine.
Thank you so much, Jeff. And last but certainly not least, Ben Roethig. So glad you were here as well. Where can people find you?
Well, Dave, you can find me at Ben Roethig on the social medias. You can find me at roethig.tech, my website. As for shows, you can find me at everywhere Jeff just said, except for the context machine.
It'll happen someday.
Someday.
It almost did.
It almost did. Yeah, we were that close.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay. Thanks, Ben. And thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed the show. We really enjoyed doing it, and we'll talk again soon.